Hello and welcome to another audio analysis. In today's video we'll be taking a look at the track Lift Me Up by the American musician Moby. This is the lead single from his 7th studio album titled Hotel, which was released in 2005, and he's certainly always been a very middle of the pack kind of artist. He's had some very strong albums and also some very weak ones, and that's possibly because of his socially charged songwriting that we do see in a lot of his music over the past 3 decades, often switching styles while infusing a bit of rock, also focusing a lot on techno and dance, and really just moving around with many of the tracks that he has released. Also the simple fact that he never really found a massive amount of success over in the US. He never touched the US main charts, but over in the UK and areas of Europe, he's actually done much better. Songs such as Porcelain, able to really climb the charts and do quite well, and including this track as well, which did go on to be a UK top 20 upon its release, and that was possibly also helped by the fact that it was eventually used as the intro theme to the Formula 1 over, I think, 2006 till 2008 when it featured on ITV here in the UK. So will this track lift you up or leave you feeling let down? Let's take a look at exactly how it sounds.
Plain talking, take us so far, and broken down cars, like strung out old stars, plain talking, served us so well, we traveled through hell, know how we felt.
So this is a song that was very heavily influenced by what Moby believed was a rise in intolerance and fundamentalism. It was something that he really kind of wanted to shine a spotlight on with this track. And for those of you that aren't aware, fundamentalism is this idea that you have to stick to a set form of scripture, something that we quite old. So you look at a lot of religions, the way they tie themselves to a certain book. So Christianity looking at the Bible, sticking to the messages that are included in that, despite the fact that it was written so many years ago and the world has changed since then. And you can see that with the actual verses, how it ties in quite well. Plain talking, we can't have these complex conversations because we're sticking to days of old, to scriptures of old, and relying on them to provide us with their rules in a world that's changed so heavily since then. The idea of take us so far in broken down cars. So we did use it to get to a certain point in time, but it's got to that point where it's much less ineffective, and now we're effective in a broken down car that can't allow us to progress further into the future because so many people are sticking to these set old school rules. So it's really smart how, despite these very simplistic looking lyrics, there's actually a lot of thought that's going into them. The fact that they served us so well, they helped us to travel through hell, oh how we felt. We've now fallen off that bandwagon because we're not longer sticking to these rules, we're trying to kind of force our way forward, and it's almost showing this rise in this fundamentalism and how it's leading to a society that is actually pulling itself down. So it's actually really clever the way that a lot of these lyrics have been structured to actually provide this tie-in with these religious ideas that are coming through. And we also have some really clever ideas brought in the chorus, again, despite its simplicity. Lift me up, higher now. That inclusiveness, it almost kind of has this sermon styling to it, this idea of getting people to rise on their feet, really coming together, something you often do see in a lot of religious ceremonies. So that's really smart how it ties that in. Also this higher now am I. Now it's not actually a word that's used at the end of this lyric, but it's actually a play on lots of different deities from a variety of different religions. You look at things such as Allah, it's that ah sound that he's actually tried to play on with this to almost create a universal deity that's kind of showing these religious tie-ins again on this track. So it's really simple and really easily done, but it actually has a lot more depth to the track than many people may actually see on the surface. lyrics. Despite it being a track that doesn't have a lot of lyrical depth almost in the terms of the structure of a lot of the sentences and lyrics and things like that, it is certainly a song that really touches very cleverly on the idea that it wants to convey. This really just bring across this fundamentalism, really shows that in the repetition that we do have throughout the chorus, and then the kind of moving into the interlude and then the outro. It's kind of almost this, again, this idea of this almost sermon-like structure of just having this crescendic build as it gets kind of closer and closer towards the end, bringing more people in, getting everybody on their feet, getting them to rise and kind of stick to this one particular idea. But I do also like this idea of lift me up, this idea of trying to move forward, to go higher, to kind of progress further. And it's this almost double-ended innuendo that we have got, this idea of sticking to scripture but also wanting to progress into the future by trying to stick to these old school rules and maybe not trying to look at outside the box and think outside the box. So again, referencing back to things in that we saw in the first and second verse, that plain talking is making us bold, but it's also strung out and cold. So really just shows that quite cleverly through some very simple lyrics. And again, it's a song that really has that very kind of anthemic sound to it, and that was also partly the reason why it was able to be quite a strong opening single, despite the album kind of tanking quite a bit. It was seen as probably one of his worst albums, Hotel, but despite that, I think this track really did kind of hit the message quite easily and didn't kind of overcomplicate the idea it was trying to show, and for that reason it sort of stood out as one of the tracks on that album, and again sort of aided by its feature in lots of different things, lots of different forms of media that enabled it to kind of be kind of one of the more standout tracks that did feature on the album. So that will be everything for today's video, but as always, feel free to let me know your thoughts about this track in the comment section below. How do you think it lives up to most of Moby's discography if you have heard quite a number of his tracks? Or do you feel this song is just a little bit too simple and repetitive and just doesn't really grab your attention all that much? I would love to know your thoughts. Also, if you'd like to see more content like this, then please do feel free to subscribe, and I will see you in the next Audio Analysis.